subscribe for more guidance from me, your pragmatic shaman bestie, at musingsandmodalities.com.
What if healing didn't have to be heavy? Welcome to The Funny Kind with Erica Gumany, the show that brings heart, humor, and hope to everyday life. Part deep.
Welcome to Our Soul Whisper with Kathy Belmont and co-host Dr. Pat, a sacred space for self-discovery, healing, and transformation. At the heart of Our Soul Whisper is the sacred truth. When we pause and listen inward, the soul always speaks. This show offers a safe, empowering space where those whispers are heard, honored, and lovingly guided into full expression. Each episode invites you to be curious about yourself and the reality you're in, while gently reminding you that you are exactly where you need to be. Let today's message settle in your heart. Maybe even journal about it. And if something resonates, peace, clarity, or insight, pass it along to someone whose soul might be calling for the same. Keep listening inward. Your soul knows the way. Our Soul Whisper starts now. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Pat, and I got to tell you, this particular episode that Kathy is going to really navigate through, and I mean Kathy, because this is, whenever those of us that are out there and we're doing shows, podcasts, whatever you want to call them, social media posts, it doesn't matter. When we put ourselves out there, it requires a certain level of readiness and vulnerability. And I know this up front, and I'm going to share this on another show, because I've started to post on social media about something I'm very passionate about. But what about if what you're talking about is a little bit more personal? Today, the part of me that wanted to be chosen, what fear was trying to say, Kathy, this is a very intriguing episode title. And, I would love for you to talk a little bit about the title, but every time we talk about something like this, there's always a story, there's always a life event, there's something, right? And so I would love to know for you, where is the start line? Before we roll the dice and decide how many spaces we're going to go, where does the journey begin with this?
Yeah. Well, where's the start line? That's an ongoing journey for sure.
No kidding.
But I will, the title really came to me because it's what we're going to get into is kind of the main kind of wound in my life. So, I can remember growing up and just always that wanting to be the one, wanting to be chosen, wanting to be seen. And we'll get into the sharing, and then the what fear was trying to tell me part is that as I did my own work and integration and life experiences and learning and all that stuff that goes into it, I've come to see that fear can be a friend, and it's something that gives us those messages that let us know, hey, something's going on here. Why don't we take a look? So it's giving us a different mindset, a different perspective on how we can look at what's uncomfortable and those really kind of yucky, uncomfortable, scary emotions and experiences that we have, and how we can really look at those in a different way. So this episode was near and dear to me because I wanted to really show everyone who I am and kind of those things that I struggled with and how I broke through and am breaking through each and every day. And what becomes possible when you put yourself first in that way. And so it was really something that I wanted to share and to really show how my journey through all this led to the work that I do in the world. And, I was thinking about it. There's not a lot of separation. It's kind of who I am. And this is my creative expression that I just really wanted to share with people so they can kind of get an idea of who I am and the work that I do.
Yeah.
And so,
And
yeah,
But
go
but
ahead.
part of that too, and this is to the point that I was making earlier, you and I are here because we've had life experiences that we've been able to reflect back on, and through some vehicle, which you're going to explain throughout the episode today, some vehicle, we find a pathway so that we can help other people from whatever we've gone through, right?
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. And that's, you know, looking at our experiences, it really truly did lead me here. But it had to be my own awarenesses and my own listening to say, yeah, no, don't go over here, go right here. This is where it's all been leading to this point. So, um, so when I talked about my leading wound, it was really about, I kind of grew up not in the, having the most stableness. And so what I tended to do was I looked outside myself for stuff, answers. What are other people doing? How are other people living? Going over to friends' houses and oh, this is the way it should be. Always that outside, looking for those answers, that acceptance. And, I can remember in school, especially those earlier years, that uncertainty was in my energy field, right? I mean, I was exuding this. And so kids picked up on that. At the time I wasn't taking so much responsibility in away for it. Then it was felt very victim. I felt like a victim. Understanding now, that's what I was putting out there, and people were responding to that. And so I part of my practice is what I call integration to wholeness. And before I share my integration story, I just want to remind folks what integration is. And it's really bringing together those parts of us that are kind of frozen back in those experiences. We have an experience like the one I'll share with you, and she got stuck. And so it's a matter of connecting with those parts of ourselves and creating a relationship and giving them what they need in that moment. So I had a session where I brought up little person in me who was in elementary school. I think it was maybe fourth grade. And I remember a couple of girls who I thought were my friends came up to me and gave me a note, and it said, "We don't like you today." And so I'm trying to remember even how old I was, but in fourth grade, that's pretty devastating. And so that meant, okay, you don't like me today, and eating lunch by myself, all those things. So as we went through the integration, the facilitator asked me, "Kathy, where's ask that part of you, where's the note? Maybe what would she like to do with that?" And so I had the note in my hands, and what that part of me wanted to do was to rip it up. She didn't do that in the actual experience, but in the integrative session, that's what she wanted to do. At the end of the session, I decided, okay, we're going to do a ceremony with that note. And so I didn't have the physical note, but I wrote a new note to her saying how much I loved her, how
Wow.
much I appreciate her, that she's
Wow.
my best friend, and that you can have lunch with me. We will always have lunch together. And what a moment that was. What a moment of healing. And it was the power of this work. And when I look back before this integration, I had been making decisions from that place of being left out, wanting to be chosen. And those weren't really choices that led to my highest good, to the place that I really wanted to be. And so when I made that integration, I was able to make different choices. And, this work really changed the way my life is going. And so it's just it's a beautiful experience, and it's something that if you have the courage and the willingness to get in touch with parts of yourselves, your life can be so different because you're making those different choices. You have an awareness. And even if you don't know what to do in that moment, you have the awareness. Oh yeah, here's that little girl who's scared again. So it's really coming from that place of having a little bit more clarity about what's going on.
Yeah. This is really so, Kathy, from what you just shared, I want to talk to people in the context of this, from what the ripple effect in life is. And what do I mean by that? Well, that may seem like a single incident to someone out there, but there is a ripple effect from it. And you work with people, you coach people, you see where they are stuck. For example, I'm writing a letter today to 11 Congress people in response to a letter they wrote about the WNBA. And, so for me, what part of me, what wounded me says, maybe you shouldn't do that, Pat. Do you see what I'm saying?
I sure do.
Where we have to go back and see if that little thing that seems little, I don't know what age, if that still is carrying forward. And you gave a beautiful example of this because look at the action you took. Look what you did. And see, an action and counteraction, how we respond to things in life. It's so key and critical. But I guess the question really is from where we're sitting and talk about it, feeling alone. It's an epidemic now.
I do.
It's out there as an epidemic now. But I would like you to share those parts of yourself, how you integrated this, and how integration supported you along the way.
It allowed me to relate to those parts of myself differently. When that was one example, I've got many parts of me that I've integrated. And when those parts come up, and it comes in the form of an emotion, of this elevated emotion of being afraid, of not feeling that I have something important to say, that everybody else is important. What was that about? Listening to those messages and being able to say, okay, there she is, or there they are. And again, it's coming from even that place, I'm responding differently, even if I don't know what to do. It took me 5 or 6 times to even experience it before and saying, okay, this is enough. It's time for me to get myself responding differently. Yeah. I'm taking responsibility for my choices. It's nobody else. And, in the realm of relationships, which was a big one growing up, where I needed a relationship, it's one now that I have relationships in my life that I want, that I prefer. That's a very, very different place.
Yeah.
And so that's what integration, that's how it supports me every day. And I'm able to have the compassion in myself and to be able to have that for others as well, respecting where people are.
Yeah. I would love you to touch on one thing you said, because I thought about this and, reflected on this in a different situation. But how does one go through this? How does one go through the steps that you took, how you responded without self-judgment, without having this thing that we do about ourselves, right? So often things happen. And that plants a seed. And the ego loves seeds. It just loves them. right? Loves you. Drop that little seed. What was that seed? Oh, you really stink at this. Oh, okay. And so, geez, maybe I should have done more. Maybe I could have did this. You know what I really am lousy at, Kathy? I'm going to tell you right now. Wrapping packages. Like Christmas holiday packages. Yeah, that's why I have a best friend who's a triple Virgo that not only wraps the package beautifully, every corner is creased, the whole thing. And one day I was asked, why is this such a problem for you? And I said, here's why. A lot of therapy, Kathy. As a young child, my job was to iron my dad's shirt. Every crease had to be ironed. Everything had to be done perfect. Things need to be folded over. And I said, excuse me, if I'm going to wrap this package where the tape is not sticking, the bow looks like something off of Pigpen, but I know that about myself. But how we talk to each other and the slightest things we say can take us down a pathway where our self-esteem becomes annihilated. So for you, can you talk about not carrying everything alone, because this is such a burden?
It is. It's that willingness to say, I don't want to do this alone. I mean, it really just comes down to that. You were talking about therapy. I remember making a phone call to a therapist who I didn't even know late in the evening and saying, I just need some support. I had no clue. But there was a part of me that was willing and that knew that something else could be different. And that another change that changed the trajectory of my life. So it's that willingness. And, going back to the packages, that's a wonderful example of wrapping, because I would, in a coaching session, I would say, well, Dr. Pat, how do you feel about not having the tape on perfectly? And maybe you would say, it's very freeing because I had to iron my dad's clothes perfectly. It was very freeing. Or you could say something else. That's the beauty of it. And that's the beauty as a life coach. I don't know where you're going to go with it, but that's how you reclaim, and that's how you start to diminish that judgment.
Yeah.
You know why you wrap it that way. Maybe I'm just kind of hypothesizing, not
but
putting words in your mouth,
right?
But it's asking you and giving you that empowerment. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect for me. That's where it starts. And so as we realize those things about ourselves, we can be less judgment on ourselves and hopefully be less judgmental of others.
Yeah. And, I joke about it now. See, that's part of this. You have to have a little humor because I volunteer. Like around the holidays, I volunteer. And, the minute I walk in, they said, do not put her on the gift wrapping table. And so we laugh about that. But then I'll get something that more fits who I am and my personality. And I have to say this. I didn't get to this place of having this kind of view of that one issue by myself. The other part of this is there's a spiritual component we should talk about.
Yeah.
Because growing up as a kid, like you, two beautiful sisters, and I'm telling you, they call me the ugly duckling. And, when you grow up with that, I'm not sure if I ever thought I would get past the way I felt. But in my journey along the way, later in life, I realized without a spiritual component of it, without understanding who I'm really loved by and who loves me, I don't know I would have made it in life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the beauty of bringing the spiritual piece into the life coaching. It's that looking for that deeper connection and the knowing that there's something more expanded that's able to see the top view. We're in the middle of the weeds. There's an awareness looking down that can lead. And that's where my focus is in life coaching, because the spiritual component is such an integral part. And for those people that want to bring that in, it's a beautiful marriage. It's a beautiful aspect. And, from the integration piece too, it's coming from a place that we're spiritual beings first, having this human experience. And so even having that belief and context in mind. And so, my training as a coach has supported me in my life and how I relate to people, respecting their journeys the way they're, even the conversations. I've always been kind of a seeker and I love to ask questions, but now it's gotten a different place. Instead of me waiting to insert what I want to say, okay, well, how do you feel about that? What's your experience of that? It really makes the conversations, quite fun and quite enriching too, because I get these different perspectives. And so being able to experience that in my life and then bring that to the people that I work with, it's just a rich soil for growth.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's a partnership. It's an equal platform of support, and when we're in the weeds, when we're up here in our heads, it's so nice to be able to call on someone who's prepared themselves with presence and groundedness to create that space for you to get out of the weeds, to start to kind of look through and see what's there. So.
And, part of what you do, especially in the coaching realm, is you provide tools to people. Let's talk about some of the tools that folks can use right now.
Yeah.
Right. Because without tools, I'm running in place. That's what I do.
And it's nice to have those tools on hand, to be able to practice even when you're not in the weeds, so you know what it brings you when you are there. And so the one that I've been kind of reconnecting with is getting heart-centered, getting to that place in the heart. Maybe you just take a few moments and you focus on your heart and you breathe through your chest. Or breath can be so powerful, and it's very simple. Wherever you are, you can always take 5 minutes to go in that restroom or go in that, that conference room. Take a few deep breaths and focus on your heart. Write some gratitude or send love and appreciation to yourself and to others. We've talked about these emotions that we feel, and really understanding that when we have an emotion, if you can give yourself about 90 seconds to allow that to move through you without attaching any stories, anything about what it may mean, and allow it to go through you and get that experience of how emotions can be like waves. We don't have to hold on to them. And there's another process that I use a lot in coaching. It's the voice dialogue, where you have these two pieces of you that are conflicting. No motivation, got, what's the other part of you that says, I don't want to continue. Giving those voices a place to speak, what's there for them. And then bringing in that spiritual aspect, bringing in that higher self, whatever that is to you, bringing that in for some guidance and some reflection as well. And then there's one that I found is kind of this good enough boundary, where people ask you or request something of you, and you can say, no, not right now, or that doesn't work. And thank you for asking. And that's it. And then see if you can be with that without trying to justify or add anything on. Well, I got this going on. Kind of going back to that. Well, no is a statement. It doesn't work for me right now. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And that's it. And see if you can really be with that. Take it on and practice. So it's some really good and simple tools to practice ongoingly. And so when you really feel that need to get yourself out of the weeds, you can bring them up.
Yeah. Yeah. That last thing you talked about, I am around people from Asia, most of the time if I'm out in public because of what I do, with the sport I play. And my friend taught me something interesting, and it was to what you just said. It was to what you just said. But she explained it to me, and it goes like this. It's like you ask me, Pat, would you like to go to lunch? No, I don't think so today. I'm not available. Well, what if I change my schedule? So my friend says, just repeat it. No, thank you, Kathy, but I'm not available today. And there's some other thing you're going to say to me, like, what do you mean you can't go to lunch? And what she taught me is the power of repetitive statements. Don't change your statement. Don't explain your statement.
Sure.
Don't move it, manipulate it, because what happens with that? You start to make stuff up. But part of this all wraps itself around what you teach and help people with. We are enough.
Yeah.
We are enough.
Whew, yes.
We are enough.
That's it. We're enough. We're enough. Yeah. I mean, gosh, how do I go on with it? Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's just staying in that moment. That's a life coaching moment. What does that mean? In closing, Dr. Pat, I just want to say that this stuff works.
I know.
And so if our conversation today has brought something up in you, all who are listening, I'm offering individual sessions in exchange for what I'm calling a heart gift. For those of you who really want to experience this work, you're curious, you've been hearing about it, what is all this? So rather than a set fee, it's really contributing what feels good to you in exchange for the time and presence and the service that you're receiving through these sessions. So my intention is to really bring this work out into the world. Have you experience it and decide for yourself and explore. Be curious and, have fun about what's possible for you. And Dr. Pat, I'm going to say it, you're enough. You're worth it.
Yeah.
Simply because you're here.
Yeah.
And so that's a
That's
beautiful
the
way for
power.
me to end the show. That's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. And part of the power of what you do, Kathy, is that you integrate body, mind, and spirit together because they are the essence of who we are. And you don't define what spirit means. People can say, I got my talking squirrel showing up today, Kathy, and it's going to be okay. Now, how do people get a hold of you, Kathy? Why don't you give out your website?
Yeah, the website is oursoulwhisper.com. Everything is there. I would love to explore with you, to if that curiosity brings something up. Take advantage of these sessions and just see what we're talking about and just decide for yourself. It's a wonderful opportunity to really to check it out and to really feel good about it.
Yeah, I love this topic today. I love the way we started it. This idea of hitting the delete button the minute something happens and you start to question who you are, what you are, where you are, and how you got here in a judgmental way. And what you help people with is look at the world of possibilities. Thank you so much for everything, Kathy. Thank you for today's show.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thanks for this beautiful conversation.
Yeah. And for those of you out there, I'm going to say it again. I'm not here today because I did this all by myself. Not at all. It took a lot of surrender, a lot of introspection, a lot of great coaches working with me even to this day. And the passion to pay it forward to all of you. That's what Kathy's doing. That's what this network is about. And I hope you take her up on that. I hope you do. It will change your life. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Our Soul Whisper with Kathy and Dr. Pat. Tune in every first and third Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Take a moment now to breathe in and reflect on today's message. If it brought you peace, clarity, or insight, let it settle in your heart and maybe even journal about it. Remember to like and share this episode with someone who's ready to listen within. May our soulful echoes ripple outward. awakening awareness and deep remembrance. If this show touched something within you, share it. Let's create a world where most of us pause, listen inward, and allow our light to shine. Visit OurSoulWhisper.com for more.